Hello, welcome to Late News Today. Police officers guard home of deputy assigned to Florida HS who never went in during shooting, report. Several Palm Beach County, FLA, police officers are guarding the home of the former school resource deputy who stayed outside Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School as last week's massacre unfolded, Fox SWSBN TV reported. Deputy Scott Peterson, of the Broward County Sheriff's Office, was armed and stationed on the school's campus when a suspect identified by authorities as Nicholas Cruz opened fire with an AR-15 rifle, leaving 17 people dead and others wounded. Peterson resigned Thursday after video surveillance showed he never entered the school, even though he clearly knew there was a shooting taking place, officials said. The revelation prompted widespread outrage. The deputy was seeking cover behind a concrete column leading to a stairwell, Officer Tim Burton of the Coral Springs Police Department, who responded to the shooting, told the New York Times. The Times also reported that in February 2016, the sheriff's office received third-hand information about Cruz planning to shoot up the school. The information, which said Cruz had knives and a BB gun, was forwarded to Peterson, who was working at the school back then. When a WSBN TV reporter tried to approach Peterson's Boynton Beach home for an interview Thursday, he said he encountered a contingent of 6 police officers standing guard. They prevented us from approaching the house, WSBN TV's Frank Guzman tweeted. Timeline of Florida school shooting. Sheriff Scott Israel during a news conference Thursday said video showed Peterson arriving at the west side of the high school where the shooting took place. Peterson, Israel said, took up a position but never went in. Peterson, according to the sheriff, was absolutely on campus through this entire event. The deputy was armed and in uniform during the shooting, but never entered the building despite clearly knowing a shooting was happening, Israel said. The sheriff said he believes Peterson remained outside the building for roughly 4 minutes, while the shooting in total lasted around 6 minutes. Israel said the officer never fired his weapon. The sheriff told reporters he's devastated. Sick to my stomach. There are no words. When asked about what law enforcement agencies entered the building first, and at what time, Israel said that it doesn't matter who went in first or what order you went in. What matters is that when we, in law enforcement, arrive at an active shooter, we go in and address the target, the sheriff said. And that's what should have been done. Peterson, according to Israel, should have went in. Address the killer. Kill the killer. Florida school shooting survivors dread Parkland campus return. The sheriff said that he suspended Peterson without pay pending an internal investigation, but the officer resigned and retired. In February 2016, the sheriff's office received a call from someone who was concerned that Cruz planned to shoot up the school. That information was forwarded to the Stoneman Douglas resource officer. The Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office confirmed to WTVJ that Peterson's family requested privacy and protection following Peterson's resignation. In 2014, Peterson was named School Resource Officer of the Year in Parkland, WSVN reported. The district stated Deputy Peterson has proven to be reliable in handling issues with tact and judgment. 2 other deputies from the Broward County Sheriff's Office have been placed on restrictive duty as officials investigate whether or not they could have done more, should have done more. The officers were identified by WSVN as Edward Eason and Guntis Trages. Their restricted assignments come as the Bureau found it responded to 23 calls regarding Cruz or his brother since 2008. In 2 of the instances, Colonel Jack Dale said, protocol might not have been followed. Israel said an investigation remains ongoing. The Associated Press contributed to this report. South Korean presidential candidate concerned about Trump's aircraft carrier story. The White House said it did not mislead allies about the ship's movements. The president said we have an armada going toward the peninsula, White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer said. That's a fact. It happened. It is happening, rather. Marushij Mikishita, a professor at the National Graduate Institute for Policy Studies, told the journal that regardless of whether the U.S. intended to deceive or the narrative was a miscommunication, it looked bad for the White House. At a time of emergency, disinformation could be used as a tactic, but if the U.S. president spreads disinformation in peacetime like now, it would hurt the credibility of the U.S., he said. President Trump's comments about moving the USS Carl Vinson toward North Korea and a show of force have sparked confusion and could cause South Korea to not trust what Trump says for the remainder of his term, a South Korea presidential candidate said Wednesday. Hong Joon-pyo, the candidate from Park Geun-hye's party, said Trump's comments about moving the USS Carl Vinson toward North Korea and a show of force spurred by that rogue nation's nuclear program was important to South Korea's security, The Wall Street Journal reported. The U.S. Navy said Tuesday it did not immediately move the carrier toward North Korea despite President Trump's earlier comments to Fox Business that he was sending an armada to deter Pyongyang. We are sending an armada, very powerful. We have submarines, very powerful, far more powerful than the aircraft carrier, Trump told the Fox Business Network's Maria Bartiromo last week. We have the best military people on earth. And I will say this, Kim Jong-un is doing the wrong thing. Military officials said at the time the Vinson was canceling a previous itinerary and instead was going to head toward the Korean peninsula. The ship is indeed expected to reach the peninsula but only after first steaming towards Australia.
What I saw was again arrive west side of Route 12, take up a position, and whoever went in, law enforcement arrived and that going and press the target. And that's what should be done. Devastated, sick to my stomach. There are no words. And on January 5th, from someone